Hi everyone, this is Kelvin Hoy, the Cinephile. Thank you so much for clicking this. Thank you for watching this. This is Avengers Endgame, the spoilers review. So I'm really excited, and before I start, I got this at the movie theater. I just want to show you. Very, very cool. I think that's it. So I'm going to put that here because it's going to distract me. Just some Avengers Endgame merchandise. So, this is a spoilers review, so please don't watch this if you haven't seen the film yet. I'm presuming most of the world has. I watched this film a couple of days ago now, so it's been 48 hours. And yeah, let's do it. Let's just spoil the heck out of this film. So, this is the order that I want to go in. I want to go through the plot, and in this case it's 3 hours, or almost 3 hours. And then I want to do positives, mixed, and negatives. And then overall, right? What my overall thoughts of the film are. My grade will be in the overall section as well. So, yes, let's go. Alright, so, as I said in my non-spoiler review, Endgame is a cinematic achievement. It's incredible. I mean, I've been thinking for the past 48 hours, a little bit more now. So it's a little bit dense. It is not a short film. If you don't have that much time, you wouldn't put it on, right? It's not half an hour or an hour episode of The Simpsons or something like that. So Chris Evans once said, "I don't think it'll ever be done again, the Marvel Cinematic Universe." And I have to agree with him. This is the 22nd film. It's the season finale of the first season of a very, very expensive television show, basically. So, how was it? As I said in my non-spoiler review, I think it's incredible. It has incredible moments, incredible scenes. Is it an incredible film? Yes, because it does have those 5-star scenes. I mean, there are a couple of moments that we'll get to, I'm getting ahead of myself, but we'll get to that I didn't think were great, or it wasn't to my taste, okay? So, let's just go through the plot. So the first hour is more measured, has a more somber tone. We're dealing with the aftermath of Infinity War. So it's great that they don't gloss it over, or that it's a 5-minute scene. They start the film with Clint Barton and his family. It's a great scene, good acting by Renner. And so he's at, I guess he's at a picnic or at his farmhouse with his family. He's under police watch. And it's a nice scene, right? Because it starts off sort of lights and it gets dark, which is, I mean, I have no problem with that, so I like that. And we know what's going to happen, but still emotional. It's still nice to see it happen to the world, right? Like, imagine if you were just sitting with your family, or if you were at a picnic with your family and people start disappearing, and you're left, or one other family member is left. So I think it shows how traumatic it would be. That being stated, and we'll get to this in the mix/negative sections, I don't know if it would cause that much change in a human being, but it's fictional, right? So I didn't go through it, so I can't say. So we go through with Barton, the first scene, before it goes to black. And then we're with the Avengers, Captain America, Black Widow, and everyone. And we find out Captain Marvel saves, I was just about to call him Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, saves him. Very simple solution. I know some people were saying rescue. Gwyneth Paltrow's Pepper Potts would save him. And I thought, well, how would she figure that out, right? It is a little simple, but also if the Avengers tell Captain Marvel, hey, we're looking for this guy, she can just fly around, right, and look for him. And I know it's space, but it would only take her a few days, really. Um, so yes, we catch up with Scott Lang as well. So he was in the. This is spoilers for every previous MCU film as well. The way this film is constructed, it assumes, and presumes that you, the viewer, has watched every MCU film, which I have, except that was sort of a lie, except for Incredible Hulk. I haven't seen it yet. I will watch it. Maybe not this weekend, but soon. So that's the only one I've missed. I watched every other one. So I watched 21 films in the MCU. So they catch up with Scott Lang. A lot of people are making a joke about it. I don't know why it couldn't be a human being that just, just starts pressing buttons and Scott Lang pops out. I thought that would be maybe a little bit more, not interesting, but more realistic, that someone would do that. But I guess they wanted him to be in the quantum realm for 5 years. And this film, when I saw that time jump, that title card, 5 years later, and it's slow as well, right? I was like, oh wow, that is bold. And that's a bold choice, and we'll talk about it more later, but that's bold because Infinity War matters no matter what they do, right? So they sort of save themselves, basically. Because you think, Loki's gonna have this streaming show, we're gonna bring all the snapped people back. People will say, nothing matters, right? Nothing matters in the MCU. You do something, people get snaps, they die, and then, they come back right away, right? Or the next film. So by jumping ahead 5 years, they save themselves from that criticism, basically. So we catch up with Scott Lang, and I really like this. I like the Ant-Man films. I like the first one better than the second one. But anyways, so his daughter's a little girl in that. I think she's 6 or 7 or 8. Probably older than Ant-Man the Wasp, probably 9. But anyways, so 5 years have passed, and then you see her all grown up, and you see Scott's reaction to her. Nice acting by Paul Rudd. I don't think he's underrated. He's a very, very decent actor. I know people think he's just a funny guy, but he's really good. And in this one, he has some really good acting scenes, again with his daughter. But also, I think, with the Avengers as well. He still brings the humor, but at least he gets to act, right? Alongside some really great actors, like Robert Downey Jr. Okay, so we're catching up with these two characters. They get rid of Captain Marvel relatively early. They use her for, I think, maybe 5 minutes. And they go to find Thanos, right? To say, there's no way we can find him. How do we find him? And they figure it out. They go into space. One of my favorite shots in the film. They're going through space, and you see Captain America's eye, because this is his first time in space. So that was so cool. Such a nice shot. Anyways, they go to find Thanos. He has no army. He has no security. He doesn't care. He accomplished his mission, right? So he uses the Infinity Stones to destroy them, and they have a brief battle sequence, and Thor ends up cutting off his head. And I was like, okay. So they get rid of him. That was surprising, and I was like, what are they going to do? So he's going to come back, because I think from just a image, or maybe it was just a very quick shot of him in the second trailer, I believe, he's there, right, in armor. And in the first scene, he's defenseless, basically. As I said, he doesn't care. So so they kill him right away, and I think, that's a great way to start, because that sort of, it just hooks the audience, and then the audience doesn't know where you're going, and then you can do the 5 years later title card, which is, again, bold, because they could have done 1 year later, right, which is in real time with the the two films, Infinity War and Endgame, or they could have done 2 years later, right? Where it's like, oh well, people they're still dealing with it, but it's been 2 years, so they're still feeling the after effects of it, but people are starting to move on, right? So that moves into Cap's scene with, I guess he's a grief counselor, and he's helping people. And I have to say, I think it's Joe Russo, right? He always puts himself in his own films. It's just a very little thing. I know he's the director, he can do what he wants. And he's actually a decent actor, I have to say. But I'm just like, stop putting yourself in your own films, man. Like, seriously, stop it. It's annoying. Because you've done it in every Marvel film, so he's like 4 different characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's a little silly. But anyways, that's just a minor thing for me personally. Okay, so again, the first hour is somber, moves at a slower pace. A lot of people have said they don't. Some people really like it, really appreciate it. I really liked it. I really appreciated it on first viewing. As I said in my non-spoiler review, I think on repeat viewings you probably skip a couple of those scenes. But anyways, so he's a grief counselor. Natasha's dealing with, I guess she's the leader of the Avengers at this point, or she runs command at the Avengers complex. So she's working there. Thor is off. And we'll get to him. And that, I guess between the first and second hour, Scott Lang's comes back, and then he figures out, he goes to the Avenger complex, and then he says, I want to talk to you. So he has an idea. How do we solve this? The quantum realm. So they're using time travel, but not through a time machine. It's it's not through a time machine. It's through the quantum realm, which is really creative. It's something they have. It's a loophole, but it works for the most part. Time travel is just wonky anyways. So they talk about different alternate realities and how they have to use these Pym particles to travel through the quantum realm. So what you do in the past doesn't change what happens in the future. So there are different timelines, different realities, which is a cool concept, a little bit confusing, but I'm glad they spoke about it and actually tried to explain it to the audience. So we have to know what's going on. So they sort of have to tell us some information. I really liked that they had a brainstorming session over time travel and how they can get the Infinity Stones. When they said we've all been near these Infinity Stones at one point or another, and Natasha says there are 3 in New York in 2012. I just thought that was so clever, really impressive that the writers thought of that or remember that or figure that out. That was really, really impressive. So that was well constructed, and I just thought that's so cool because they weave in and out of all the old films, the past films. So they're in the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor: The Dark World, I believe those are the 3. And then the cameos in that second hour. I was almost giddy. I was so happy watching it and so entertained, and it was so fun. It was so fun. I hate that word when they describe Marvel films. Oh, it's just fun. But it really was entertaining, and it was really nice to see the cameos. So they had Natalie Portman, Tilda Swinton, Rene Russo, Robert Redford. I believe those are the 4 main ones in that second hour. But, John Slattery, so for Tony's dad was there as well. So it was really well done. The third hour has a lot of action, and it features some fantastic scenes, great memorable moments. I'll speak about them more when I get to my positive section. But it's basically all the action. Some fight scenes, the culmination of this film and previous 21 film, so it was very emotional and it was really edge of your seats entertainment. So I want to get to the positives, the best moments for me. So I think I have to say it's Avengers Assemble. I mean, we've been waiting for that for a long time, and I wasn't even. I mean, you're just not. You're like in the middle of the film or near the end of the film, but I mean, you're watching it. You're not thinking about it, so it just caught me off guard, and it was so well done. It's such an epic moment that makes sense and feels so right, because Cap is Thanos' army is coming or is standing there, and Cap's on the other side, and he sort of does that, tugs his arm. I think he was bleeding as well, and I just thought, oh, okay, so this is it. He's gonna die, right? I didn't think anything would happen, and then you hear that little static, and it's Falcon saying, "Cap, on your left," and all the portals open, and like must be hundreds of characters, a lot of wizards or I don't know what they're called, followers of Doctor Strange or come, and so just hundreds of characters come, and it was just so awesome seeing all of them there. Wasp and Valkyrie on her Pegasus, and yeah, it's just such a glorious scene. So it's so nice seeing all of Snap characters coming back. Spider-Man, of course, I love Spider-Man. The characters that we haven't seen, such as Wasp and Valkyrie, and most of the MCU characters were there, I believe. Yeah, I don't know if I'm missing anyone. Okay, another favorite moment: Captain America holding Mjolnir. Such a cool moment. I wasn't expecting that as well. Like I wasn't thinking really at the time. I was just watching, just absorbing the film, and it was such a cool moment. Really love it when it comes to him. He's holding it, and Thor looks back, and he's like, "I knew it," right? It's such a friend thing to say about another friend, right? It's like, "I knew it. I knew you did it," right? Or "I knew you could do it." That kind of humor really works for me. Okay, and of course, another favorite, I don't want to get emotional talking about it, but Tony's death, and it was just so well done. I mean, you have everyone else is sort of busy or knocked out or uh, you know, Thanos has the gauntlets again, and I think he's taken out Captain Marvel at that point. And anyway, so it all begins when Doctor Strange holds up his finger, and he's shaking, and because he's holding the water, I believe, and he's shaking. He says, only one way we win," and the look on Robert Downey Jr.'s face, on Tony Stark's face, the acting in this scene, when he sees that finger, and he makes eye contact with Doctor Strange, and it's just, I mean, literally, it's someone telling you this is the only way, and you realizing, I'm gonna die, and yeah, I mean, I don't I don't get emotional, but it's just such incredible acting, just a realization, the fear, the not resignation, but the acceptance of it, right? That you have to sacrifice yourself for something greater, for something more important. And the moment, he has the iron gauntlet, I suppose, and he swipes the stones, which I didn't see it. Like, I have to watch the film again. I've only seen it once, but I have to watch it again. But he swipes it, and then, they're all in place, sort of. And Thanos says, "I am inevitable." And then such a great line. Iron Man says, Tony Stark says, "And I am Iron Man." And he snaps, and it's just so well done. It's perfect. It really is perfect. Like I was thinking, I don't know how he's gonna go out. I was thinking, you know, I mean, Marvel's gonna kill him, right? Like there's a very high chance. Um, but then I was thinking, there's a very small chance, maybe like 1 or 2%, maybe even 5%, where they don't kill him, and they just, or they do something like, oh, he at the end of the film he becomes an AI, or he he survives somehow, right? And he retires because he's so injured, or I don't know. Like there's always, Marvel has done it before. Like they've done that sort of bait and switch, and even in Infinity War, right? People were saying characters would die, and they saved it for this Endgame, which makes sense. It's perfect. Um, it comes full circle from the first Iron Man film to this film, and he is the most important figure. I mean, it's him and then Captain America, who absolutely blew up and probably became more successful than they could have imagined, right? Even Feige and the writers and the directors, and making, breaking box office records and whatnot. Captain America, I mean, and Iron Man, the original one. But yeah, it's just such a fitting ending, really well done. I loved it, yeah. And his death scene is very emotional. Rhodey, Peter Parker, Pepper's reaction to his death. Then Captain America and Thor are there as well for brief moments, and it's really done again. RDJ's acting just so spent. I've read that he tries to say Pepper. I didn't hear that myself, but I think he was mumbling more. Like he's just so spent, like he's dying basically, and in less than a minute he'll be gone. And that scene's so well done. The dialogue is, "It's okay, you can rest now," right? Which goes back to what Pepper said before, at I guess before the second act. They had that conversation where Tony says, "I should just sleep," and Pepper says, "Yeah, but can you rest? Can you give this idea up of getting all the snapped people back?" So, yeah, it's just really, really well done. Probably one of the best death scenes I've seen. Very heroic moment. Okay. Of course, I have to say, everything to do with Captain America in this film, but really that the last, basically Cap versus Thanos was nerve-wracking. It made me sweat. It was intense, and I'm wrong about a lot of things, and about a lot of things in this film, but I thought he has a sword. Thanos has a sword, and he's like slicing the shield, and I thought, oh, that's it. Captain America's dead. This is how he goes. They're gonna kill him. They're gonna kill him, and Iron Man's gonna get angry and jump in and fight Thanos and whatnots. And I was incorrect, but that scene was really good. Cap versus Thanos. And I will say, I think, just speaking about that, some other things, I'm jumping around, but I really like that the battle is just long enough. It doesn't keep going. I want it to be a little bit more, to be perfectly honest. I thought it was the right length. Yeah, I mean, the Russos and the editors are looking at the film for months on end, so they got it down. But yeah, I thought it could be even a minute longer, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, it's really, really well done. Okay. Yep, that's a really great example of control on the director's part, because sometimes you're just like, oh, more, right? Like, throw more characters, more fight scenes, and sometimes you can't see that, oh, it's too much, right? So, thumbs up to the Russos for knowing that. Okay, I would say, so the next scene for me, Black Widow's death. Tense scene, great acting from Renner, and it shows their friendship as well. Uh, she falls, and it's brutal, it's emotional, and they set it up really well because they're both sort of sitting there, and Hawkeye sort of like, oh, well, why do we, he's lying, right? Why do we believe him? And then, Natasha's like, no, he's right. It's like, this is the trade we have to do, or make. And at first, again, I'm wrong, but at first, maybe because the way it was staged, or I don't know if they intended this, but Natasha sort of, like they put their foreheads next to each other, and they're talking. I thought Natasha was going to just push him off, like throw him off, and say, hey, I came here to save the snapped people, right? Or snapped creatures. And, we have to make a sacrifice, and you have to go. For some reason, I thought that was what would happen, and then, of course, they're the good guys, they're heroic, so they're fighting each other over who jumps off the cliff, basically. And Hawkeye, I think he punches Black Widow in the ribs or something, or pushes her down, and Hawkeye's jumping over. I was like, yes! I apologize, but I've been waiting for Hawkeye to die since Age of Ultron. It's ridiculous that he hasn't died. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, how is he still alive? Really? It's like a guy who shoots arrows. And who has, like, no protection either, right? But yeah, and then I think he's going over, and Natasha gets him with a grappling hook and sort of pins him or ties him up, and then he holds her, actually, and she says the line. She says, "Let me go." And that's so emotional, and of course she falls, and Renner really sold it in the next scene with I think he's in the water where Thanos was in the previous film, and he sort of gets up and he sort of punches the water in frustration and anger, and really well done by Renner. So yeah, great job. So that was a great moment. Captain Marvel versus Thanos was awesome. That was teased, or has been teased for the past little while, since Captain Marvel came out for sure, so the past several months, and saying she's gonna kill him, and some people were concerned about that, or she's gonna beat him down, which she sort of did. It was a good fight scene. I like that he had the gauntlet, and I like that he headbutted her and she was fine. She just stared at him. I was like, oh man, that's really good. And then I think he takes, I can't remember which stone it was, maybe the Power Stone. So he takes a stone and holds it just so he can punch her in the face, so she goes flying off. And that goes into Tony's sacrifice, so it's really well done. Because you have all these characters, Captain Marvel, Captain America, Thor, they're sort of out of the equation for that moment, and Thanos is about to snap again. So really well done, really well organized. Iron Man versus Thanos, round 2, that was good as well. Gratuitous but awesome shot of all the MCU ladies, the A-Force. So cool, a bit over the top, but they built up all of these ladies to various extents. So that is an accomplishment. And you have Captain Marvel in there, and they shot this before her origin film, so that's really impressive foresight. And just the way it's shot, like all the characters, all the women of the MCU walking towards the camera, it's really well done. It's sort of a goosebump moment, and I imagine a lot of people had a strong reaction to it. Love that Cap and Tony got to go on a little side mission in 1970. Really fun and enjoyable. Some great moments in there with Peggy and Tony's dad, as I mentioned before. Good conversation between Tony and his dad. It's sort of, I think Tony's dad said something like, "Oh, I didn't even know my dad," and he says, "How about you?" And Tony says, "Yeah, my dad wasn't that bad." It's like this realization that his dad loved him, even though he didn't show it or didn't say it, probably ever. So it's really, a really touching scene. What else? So I really like the two Captain Americas fighting each other. I wasn't shocked at that, but it was a nice, pleasant surprise. And what did he say? Oh, I can do this all day. And then the 2023 cap says, yeah, yeah, I know. You know, so well done. Like the script is so good. Yeah, I mean, there's fan service in there, but if you followed most of the films, I'd say, I mean, of 21 films before this, if you watched 19, even 18, I think you're good, right? If you skipped a couple, like Ant-Man and the Wasp, well, Ant-Man and the Wasp is sort of important, but if you, you know, skipped a couple, I mean, you're not missing anything. So it's really well done. I mean, there's a benefit to watching all of them just so you have this sense of being complete and getting every single little thing. I'm sure I missed some um, some Easter eggs or references. So yeah. Am I missing anything here? Oh, the birds coming back after Hulk snaps, the Infinity Gauntlet. I thought that was a nice touch because it's so quiet, and all of a sudden you hear birds, right? I was like, oh yeah. Even when Paul Rudd's in San Francisco going through the city, there are no birds or animals, which makes sense because half the creatures of the world are gone. So it'd be a much quieter place. Um, and then I'm gonna go into mixed slash positive. I don't know how I feel about it right now, but you know, I like these are the things I sort of liked and I sort of didn't like, right? You know, you have those scenes in films where it's sort of like, oh yeah, that was funny, but you know, it's sort of silly or sort of slows the film down possibly, right? So I'm gonna go to mixed right now. So onto the mixed section. Um, for me, functioning Hulk, he's been called. Um, I don't know how I feel. I'm not a huge Hulk fan, anyways. So from the original six, for me it's Cap, Iron Man, Natasha, Black Widow, Thor. In this film, Thor, Hulk, and then Hawkeye. So I'm not a huge fan of Hulk, anyways. I'm sure someone else would have a much stronger opinion. Um, Great scene at the restaurant. Really good comedy with Paul Rudd. Um, yeah, really good. It was great to see because they sort of wallow in the first act. They sort of wallow in this sadness, which is great. It's appropriate, but you know, I mean, eventually you do have to get out of that a little bit. And it was nice seeing normal kids. Like they wouldn't know what the snap was. Like they wouldn't care, right? Like I don't know how old the kids are, but like 7 or 8. I think one girl was 12. But like those kids, they wouldn't care, right? They survived it. It's like surviving SARS or something like that, right? They wouldn't appreciate being alive. So that was great. They just want a picture with the Hulk. Um, yeah, great dialogue. Uh, but yeah, functioning Hulk. I mean, just I don't know, wearing the sweater and the glasses, and I don't know. I think people have said he's done because of that character change, Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk. I I tend to agree with that. I don't think he's done. I think he can make a cameo somewhere because he's still alive, and so. But I don't think he'll be. I don't think there'll be a Hulk solo. I don't even think he'll be a co-star like in Thor Ragnarok, where it was him and um, Thor, obviously, Hulk and Thor together. So I don't even think he'll do that. I think he's pretty much done. Probably a cameo, which would be nice. Um, Mixed. Tony figuring out time travel so quickly. Um, it was literally I was a little bit surprised with that. I mean I know time is money, but I mean they talk to him, he says no, and then he figures out time travel. Like that could be the same day, or like tomorrow, right? The next day he figures it out. I really would have liked several more seconds or even just a short scene of him trying and failing, like um, trial failed, trial succeeded, right? Even that. I mean, it's an extra 10 seconds. I really would like that. Negative, this is just my opinion. Fat Thor. Just really silly. I mean, it reminded me of Ragnarok, which as like, with each passing day, I dislike it more and more. Um, Possibly because so many people like it and I just don't understand it. I think it's a really emotionless, silly film. I don't want to go off on a tangent. But yeah, so Fat Thor, just a bit silly for my taste. I was like, oh, this is just like Thor Ragnarok. Like, even uh, is it Korg and Meek? Yeah, Korg and Meek were there, and I was like, they're funny. They're funny. They're amusing. But I'm just like, come on, don't waste any time on these people, on these characters. So yeah, and I've heard some pushback on Fat Thor. So I think Marvel would be wise to listen and sort of take that in. Um, and I don't think it's just an aesthetic. I don't think it's just a shallow reason. I think it's, you're making fun of someone who gained weight, right? It's sort of not funny. Um, but yeah, and I understand he's depressed. He's an alcoholic, which is sort of more concerning. Um, but yeah, and he does come to a slightly better place at the end. So I think he'll probably be fit again in the next one, um, just for something different. Uh, and just to go with that, I like him alone. I like Thor alone. I like him a bit more serious. Putting him with the Guardians doesn't interest me. It's not a path that I'm looking forward to because I don't. Guardians 2 again. I don't want to go off on tangent. Wasn't for me. Um, yeah, so I'm a Captain America guy. I'm a Captain America kind of guy in sensibility. Like I like. There's a difference between having a sense of humor and being silly, right? Like if you meet someone and you're like, that's a silly person, um, like always cracking jokes, like trying to be funny, and then I think if you, even 90% or 95% of the time, if you're always trying to be funny, you're not funny, right? So it's unfortunate what they've done with Thor. I love the original Thor. I think that's sort of the perfect Thor, and he was really good in Infinity War as well, where he was still funny, but it wasn't this sort of silly, or it was silly, but more verbal, right, in his dialogue, instead of him like throwing a ball and it hit, and it hitting him in the face. That's sort of like, come on, it's for children. All right. And also, Marvel has, in my opinion, struggled with this in the past. When to hold back, when not to tell a joke. Uh, Even Feige, right? I mean, if I was in Feige's position, I would say, cut that joke, or, like, why is this joke so long? Like the tape joke in Guardians 2. It's like, I literally think it's 2 minutes long, and it shouldn't even be a minute. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. One or two scenes where I didn't feel it made that much sense. But once you introduce time travel, things always get a bit wonky, and you could question a few of the decisions that are made. For instance, I don't know why. Like, I don't. Again, Marvel, this one's important. This film was important. The snap was important in the last one. Um, the deaths, Heimdall, Loki in the last one were important. The deaths in this one were significant, really touching. But if they don't want to, they won't, right? And I don't like if they don't want to kill someone, they won't, and they'll make up any sort of excuse to keep them around. Um, Nebula, I don't know why she's still alive. To be honest, her past self came to the future. 2023 Nebula shoots 2014 Nebula in the chest. She dies. 2023 Nebula is fine, somehow, but that's not even. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but that's not a character going to the past and having a new reality. That's a character from the past coming to our time. So, but it's the same timeline. It's the same prime timeline. So I don't know why Nebula's still alive. I also don't think you need her, to be perfectly honest. I always pronounce her name incorrectly, but Karen Gillan. she's a good actress, really, really decent actress. I don't think you need her. I think it would have been really emotional and touching if future or present Nebula shot past Nebula and they both died. I thought that would have been really emotional, actually. So, missed opportunity for me. Um, yeah, so it's not a great choice. Okay, so overall, this film, I do want to talk about the acting before I go, because I think I forgot to. So the performances, including Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, Mark Ruffalo, and Chris Hemsworth, even though I don't agree with the choices, the acting is fantastic. I think it's Chris Evans' best performance to date. I don't, I've seen him in other things outside of Marvel, and I think he's a better actor than you expect, because he's a nice looking guy, and he looks good, so, yeah. But he's not, he's not the best actor of all time. But I'm just saying, just seeing him grow with this character as well, he plays Cap so well. It's sort of like, for me, it's sort of like Henry Cavill and Superman. They both play them really, really well. So I think it's Evan's best performance. RDJ is fantastic in this film. It's just a great farewell. Johansson is good. Renner, Ruffalo, and Hemsworth are good as well. I think everyone gives a great performance, and it was really, really emotional seeing the end and seeing them grow with these characters. Like, I've grown with this character, the characters, or these films. I think I watched Iron Man when I was 21, and that was before I had a serious girlfriend ever, and now I'm married. So it's pretty insane, the past 11 years with these films. But anyways, Paul Rudd did a good job. I thought he was legitimately funny. I think it was probably the funniest one for me, but he also got some good dramatic moments. I love his scene with his daughter, and his daughter's 5 years older, and you see it on his face. It's like, you're my daughter. You look a little bit different, It's, wow, it's really good scene. And, really quickly, that should have been in the positives. I like that they jumped ahead 5 years, and because Tony Stark didn't want to lose his daughter, Morgan, they kept it that way. So it jumped 5 years. So I think Spider-Man Far From Home takes place in 2023, or around there, which is really interesting. And it's a bold move, it's a brave move, because it causes problems, right? It would have been so easy to say, we're going to bring all these Snap people back, and we're going back before the Snap ever happened. So we're going back, 1 minute or an hour before the Snap happens. And then it's still in 2018, and now we can jump forward, right? Like, doing this, jumping 5 years ahead and dealing with Snap's people coming back, the people who survived the Snap dealing with loved ones returning, like, that's going to be a complex world, and more trauma, more psychological complexes, and so that's a bold move. I really like that, and it means something, right? Like, I was about to call him Paul Rudd. Ant-Man, Scott Lang lost 5 years of his daughter's life. Like, he missed out on 5 years of her life, and yeah, I mean, he's happy now, but that's still a significant time period. Okay, so when this film is good, it's incredible. There are only a few moments that I thought were sort of distasteful. I mean, I think the fat Thor jokes were a little bit distasteful. Yeah. So, overall, there is emotional weight to this film. That's why the MCU is so successful. That's why they made you care. As I said in my non-spoiler review, I could not have cared less about the universe, the cinematic universe that they were building in Iron Man. You know, some people were really excited about the that end credit scene, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I watched it, and I was like, cool, we'll see it. And then Iron Man 2, which I hated, was trying so hard to build upon the universe. They're like, oh, we have to do this, we have to do this. You know, that was probably that one and Captain America: The First Avenger. The last 15 minutes, those two are the most guilty of setting things up like so obviously, like spending so much time on a sequel, and I think probably the DCEU can be accused of that for Batman v Superman and well, mostly Batman v Superman, unfortunately, but yeah, and Marvel. I mean, of course, they set it up in the end credit scenes, like the stingers, um, but yeah, they haven't done that since, so or as badly. So I like that they learn from their mistakes. That's good. Um, yeah, so people are invested in these characters. I'm invested in these characters. I've been so impressed by these past two films. So usually for me, it was sort of very up and down. The MCU is like Iron Man, great. Um, First Avenger, not so much, a little bit lower. Thor, I think the first Thor is fantastic. Um, Avengers is fantastic. Guardians is fantastic. Guardians 2, not so much. Um, Thor: The Dark World is a little bit lower. So, yes. It's an up and down ride. I don't think you have 22 films and they're all 95, right? Or 96. Like, that's sort of ridiculous. Um, so, yeah, and, and I learned this really quickly. I want to say this. It's good being slow sometimes. So, the "And I Am Iron Man" scene where he snaps. Such a great scene. I learned today that they didn't film that until January, until this past January, after they finished principal photography. So this was during reshoots and additional filming, which is incredible. Like sometimes it's just fate and destiny, for lack of a better term, and things work out so well. Yeah, I love that story, and it just worked out beautifully. Um, so, yeah, so Endgame, I think they did a fantastic job overall. It's a terrific film. Is it perfect? No. When you involve time travel, things get a little bit messy and convoluted, even though they try to explain it. And, oh, I didn't even talk about this really quickly, because I know this is long and I'm running out of time, but love the funeral scene for Tony with, the camera pans and it sort of goes like this for all of the characters. And they even got the child actor, I think it's Ty Simpkins, from Iron Man 3. Nice touch. I really like that. Some people don't like it, or some people say it's pointless. He shouldn't be there. But he was in Iron Man 3, and he helped Tony Stark. And I thought it was a nice gesture, like he was invited to this private ceremony, this private funeral, by Pepper Potts, or Tony and the kid might have kept in touch over the years. Even if he didn't, I think it shows that Tony touched certain people after the first Iron Man, right? After he had that lesson and he grew as a human being. Also, really quickly, Captain America gets his dance. That was in the positives. Really good. I mean, I think Endgame, Infinity War, it's sort of like Winter Soldier. That just his arc through the Captain America, 3 Captain America films, and now Infinity War and Endgame, Avengers as well. It's just his arc is so great. I don't think I've ever seen such a great character arc. Like, probably Iron Man first and then Cap, but it's just fantastic over these many films. Logan, but the timeline for those films are so messed up. But yeah, I really liked that. I was a little bit confused. I was like, oh, he's old now, right? Old Cap. And oh, he went back in time and he spent time with Peggy. And I'm so glad they ended. No jokes, no silly humor. They just ended it with that beautiful song and they're dancing together. And he decided to live his life with Peggy. And it was so beautiful. It made me misty eyed. It was really, really wonderful. Um, I thought he would go back in time and just live there and we get a scene of them dancing. And I never thought of old Cap for some reason, but yeah. Okay, so anyways, my grade has gone up. I've had over 48 hours to think about the film. And yes, I think I'm going to do it. I'm giving this film 4.5 stars out of 5. So that's 90%. I think what they do well is terrific. Yeah, there are a lot of little things that could be improved, I think, but you know what? This is a cinematic achievement. So thank you so much for watching. I apologize for being so long, but I really appreciate you clicking on this. Please like, subscribe, and comments. I would love to hear what you think. Okay? Thank you. Bye.